Well, what is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we here for Unscripted number 84. It's your Sunday, August 4th, 2019. This week is definitely a somber week in world of professional wrestling. We lost Harley Race to lung cancer this past week, and we lost one of the most influential promotions in the last 3 years in What Culture Pro Wrestling / Defiant Wrestling. I wasn't alive when Harley Race was a big time star. I only knew of him from people's stories about him, past clips and everything. But What Culture Pro Wrestling / Defiant Wrestling was something that I saw and was a fan of from day one. May 25th, 2016, Adam Pacitti shows up on YouTube a day after, which I love the clip that they did, the day after Extreme Rules, I believe, 2016, when Adam Blampier, he was being the pompous dick that he was at the time, just won back the cardboard championship from Jack the Jobber. Adam Pacitti, as Adam Blampier is doing that, and whacks him in the head, pins him 1, 2, 3, and takes the title, which became a thing. And then the very next day, you see a video come up on their YouTube channel. Adam Pacitti's big announcement, WCPW is born, and everything from there was it just worked. Everything worked. And they were unproven. I think they talked about it, because I heard the What Culture guys who are at What Culture right now, I've heard the Cultaholic guys talk about it, and the main booker was like the only person out of everybody who actually was in the professional wrestling game before. So he was the only guy who could be part of this and help them get through this. They started off in a leaky venue, which was just how they started, and they just went from there. When it was WCPW, you had the Adams, you had Jack, you had Ross, you had Simon Miller do commentary. Ross and Simon Miller did commentary for the first full set of tapings until they got to Built to Destroy, when the team of Dave Bradshaw and his original commentary partner took over commentary for the next 6 or 7, 8 months. Of course, Jim Cornette and Matt Stryker and JR all came in at different times to do commentary for special events. They had guys like Kurt Angle. They had Drew Galloway, which is Drew McIntyre now. They had Cody Rhodes, who was their internet champion for a good bit. You had Matt Hardy. They even had a pay-per-view called Delete WCPW, a take on the broken Matt Hardy gimmick. Will Ospreay, Martin Kirby, guys I've never heard before. Rampage, Big Damo, aka Killian Dane, Nixon Nero, aka Tegan Knox, B. Priestley. I don't think, and we had Fight for the Fallen a couple weeks ago. B. Priestley was on that pre-show and had a humongous reaction from the fans at Fight for the Fallen. I wholeheartedly believe had What Culture Pro Wrestling, Defiant Wrestling not existed, I don't think B. Priestley would have been as over as she was, or got that huge reaction that she did coming into Fight for the Fallen on that pre-show. It was that influential. You had Bully Ray, you had the Swords of Exodus, you had War Machine, who are the Viking Raiders now. I still remember seeing Scotty Wainwright and Will Ospreay face the War Machine. Scotty Wainwright goes down with a bad injury. Whatever they had planned to do was scrapped, and Will Ospreay, Hanson, and Rowe all went out there and called a 20-minute two-on-one handicap match classic. That was awesome. Ricochet versus Will Ospreay when the top rope broke. Ricochet versus Will Ospreay in the semifinals of the World Cup. Kushida versus Will Ospreay in the World Cup. Joseph Connors, after being signed to WWE's UK division, which wasn't named NXT UK yet, making his return to replace Michael Elgin in the World Cup, who was not able to make it for, I can't remember why he didn't, but these moments are something that are going to last a lifetime. What Culture Pro Wrestling brought a lot of people back into the wrestling business. A lot of people, they were doing business that WWE wish they could do in the UK. I remember watching a lot of the bigger events and just seeing how big of a venue they did, how big the crowd was, how invested the crowd was. People lost their mind when Martin Kirby beat Will Ospreay the first time they faced each other, and Will Ospreay put him over after the fact. When Rey Mysterio took on Will Ospreay, and after that match was over, Rey Mysterio cut a magnificent promo on Will Ospreay, on Ricochet, and on What Culture Pro Wrestling. Alberto El Patron's best time outside of WWE was in WCPW. Adam Pacitti was the on-screen authority figure for the first few months of WCPW's time. Of course, he was the babyface that he didn't look comfortable as a babyface when the show started. He had this thing with Martin Kirby, that Martin Kirby just wanted a title shot, and Martin Kirby did whatever he could to get a title shot. He handcuffed himself to the ring. He sang karaoke. He got under Adam Pacitti's skin to enough to where he got that championship opportunity. And when that championship opportunity came, and he looked like he was going to hit the Zoidberg elbow, Pacitti, the sniveling snake that he was at the time, shoved him off, and one of the most organic, natural moments of hatred I've ever seen. I think the only thing that's been like that or even come close was Tommaso Ciampa turning his back on Johnny Gargano and coming back and just making Johnny Gargano's life a living hell. But there was glow sticks. You saw the glow sticks being thrown at him, and just the hate this guy got. What Culture Pro Wrestling, I'm not talking about Defiant Wrestling yet. We're getting into What Culture stuff, because in my opinion, of this company's time, WCPW, which went from 2000 in May of 2016 to, I believe, November of 2017, it was WCPW, was the highs of this company. When it became Defiant Wrestling, I think it lost its cool factor. It lost its great, it lost its coolness. It lost something about it. I don't know what it is, but it felt like once Adam Pacitti, Adam Blampier, Sam Driver, Ross, and Jack all left What Culture, WCPW took a hit, and Pacitti did say on the Cultaholic special podcast that the rebrand was going to happen, either whether they stayed or not. I believe him. Not going to deny that, but it just felt like when it went to Defiant Wrestling, and especially after those 5 guys left, that the show just didn't feel the same. And then they took Loaded away for a while and was not doing Loaded tapings anymore. They were just doing the special pay-per-views. They were doing special follow-ups on Access Defiance. And it just felt like what was cool about WCPW kind of just disappeared into Defiant Wrestling. They brought Loaded back last year in December, and it just didn't. It was fun to see a guy like Pac come back to Newcastle and have his run there for a little bit. David Starr was still there. Gabriel Kidd was still there for a little bit. He did end up leaving right before this shut down. Rampage was the guy who beat Austin Aries for the title late last year, or early last year, I believe, and held that title and held it down. Warrior Coil was somebody new that I'd never heard of before. The biggest reason this is what sucks, because it's not their fault, and I can understand why they couldn't make it or couldn't stay afloat, is pretty much because this is the casualty of the war between AEW and WWE. Wrestle Circus shut down, but the reason Wrestle Circus shut down last week was not because of AEW WWE war or anything. It's because of the owners' personal problems, which I hope if anyone has those type of problems, they can get themselves taken care of and get better help for themselves. But this one was definitely a casualty of everything about WWE trying to scoop up every single soul that they can to keep them from going anywhere else. And we'll talk about later WWE, what they're trying to do with the new contracts. You had Pete Dunne there. He was going to be somebody that for sure was going to be groomed to be the WCPW World Heavyweight Champion at one time. He got taken away. Mustache Mountain was there. They got taken away, and they definitely were going to be tag team champions. They were going to be the face of the tag team division in WCPW, and that didn't happen because of WWE coming in and taking as much big-named UK talent. With how WCPW was going, the big events they were doing, the coolness it had to it, the fact that they were selling out 2,000, 3,000 plus venues, and having these big events, having JR, Jim Cornette, Matt Striker on commentary at times, you know that Vince McMahon might not be watching, but somebody in WWE was watching and did everything they could to make this company, take all the talent away from this company and put it on a bigger stage. And honestly, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't blame a Pete Dunne, a Tyler Bate, Trent Seven, a Travis Banks, a Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, Joseph Connors, who has become a victim of the fact that they don't know what to do with him. He was quintessentially one of the best goddamn heels. I see when Tommaso Ciampa came back from injury, I feel like that was what Joseph, like, he pretty much felt to me like that was what Joseph Connors was doing 2 years beforehand in What Culture Pro Wrestling, when he was a just vicious, vile heel who would do anything and everything he could to keep his championship. Drew Galloway had his career resurgence in What Culture Pro Wrestling, winning that championship at the WCPW. I still say today, it's in my favorites now, that the return promo he cut on Joseph Connors was by far one of the best goddamn promos you will ever see, and you could tell that came from the man's heart. He talked about, I watched it yesterday just to, have that special moment in my, just have that moment come back to me, that he has been wrestling, he's been wanting to be a professional wrestler, and this is his life for a long time. He, 21 years old, signed by WWE. Didn't know what the hell he was getting himself into. Hurting himself because he couldn't be home. His mom went through chemo, I believe it was, and he couldn't be there because he was doing the professional wrestling thing, and it screwed up his life. It screwed up his job. He ended up getting released, and instead of doing what most people do, as you see on those promotional conventions. Hey, here's Drew Galloway, formerly known as 3MB's Drew McIntyre. He came back into the independents. He reinvented himself, and the Scottish psychopath that you see on WWE television is honestly a shell of his former self than what he was in What Culture Pro Wrestling and in NXT. The NXT version of Drew McIntyre was as close as you were going to get to what you saw in WCPW for him. It's just, he had a resurgence. Cody Rhodes winning the Internet Championship, being that guy, holding that title for them, losing it and being the guy to take the pinfall to Gabriel Kidd, who had not won a match from the start. He was the first guy, I believe, to take a pinfall in What Culture Pro Wrestling, and just kept losing and losing and losing and losing. This, of course, was natural. They didn't really plan, because I remember after the World Cup, Adam Blampier, who was still part of What Culture, they did a podcast, and he was like, that wasn't the plan, it just happened naturally. And that was What Culture Pro Wrestling, is that things just happened naturally. They listened to the fans. They didn't script promos. They bullet-pointed promos. This was, honestly, to me, What Culture Pro Wrestling felt like the in-between. You have WWE, you have independents, and What Culture Pro Wrestling for that year, and that year plus that they had, felt like it was an in-between. And Adam Cleary on the What Culture podcast that they did for this talked about there were so many guys, men and women in WWE, who would contact them that if they got out, could they get into What Culture Pro Wrestling? That's how big this promotion was. It's a damn shame that this promotion is going to have to go away. They just had too many talent getting scooped up at too many times. I was never able to get there. I'm from the States. I live in a small town in Ohio. And the reason I even watched What Culture Pro Wrestling from the start was because of Adam Blampier, Adam Pacitti, Jack the Jobber, King Ross at the time. Sam, I didn't like, wasn't really an on-air personality as much as he is now for Cultaholic, but those four guys for sure I would watch. And then the fact that they got Jay Lethal, who I am a huge Jay Lethal fan from his time in Impact Wrestling, especially the Black Machismo gimmick, one of my favorite gimmicks of all time. But they got Jay Lethal on there. I didn't know Big Damo. I didn't know Martin Kirby. I didn't know Ligero. I didn't know Gabriel Kidd. I didn't know Joe Hendry. I didn't know any of these guys. I didn't know B. Priestley and Nixon Newell when they had that last woman standing match where Nixon Newell put B. Priestley's head in between a chair and kicked her head off. I didn't know any of these people. But it's like they did things right. Is that they got the UK talent, but for an overseas audience, they got one of the best damn workers that hasn't worked for WWE ever in Jay Lethal on this card. Noam Dar versus Jay Lethal is a damn good match if you can find it. I hope WCPW or Defiant Wrestling Work Culture takes all their entire tape library and over the next 6 months or so just put all that on YouTube. Every match, if they want to do events, fine, but if they want to do every single match by match, go ahead. I know you can probably go back and find them, but yeah, Jay Lethal, Noam Dar, great match. Just some of the best damn wrestling you will see. Some of the hottest crowds you would see. This show, and if you just look at NXT UK, the NXT UK division, not all of it, but majority of this entire division for the NXT UK, had their time in What Culture Pro Wrestling. There's 3 champions, Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, and Volta, all spent time in WCPW. The one half of the Grizzled Young Vets, Liverpool's number 1, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He spent time in WCPW. His partner didn't, but still. Primates, one of my favorite hardcore wrestlers from What Culture Pro Wrestling, started out in WCPW. They built a division, gave a championship for Primate in the Hardcore Championship. This entire, I got done working on Friday. I got online, went to my Twitter account, and one of the first things I saw was, over the course of the last 3 years, Defiant Wrestling, formerly known as What Culture Pro Wrestling, has served as one of the premier forms of entertainment from fans in the independent wrestling scene in the United Kingdom. Now, after 3 years of joy, the promotion has closed for the final time. WCPW, Defiant Wrestling, was the springboard for a series of high-level British talent, and in addition to that, they also showcased some of the best talent outside of WWE at the time of their booking. WCPW, Defiant Wrestling served a real purpose to the existence of promotion, and it will be sorely missed. It has been an absolute incredible journey, as they tweeted, over the past 3 years, but it is with a heavy heart that we today announce that the journey must come to an end. To each and every one of you who worked the show, attended the show, or watched the show, thank you. I'm lost for words, really, on anything I could tweet. I tweeted about it. Anything, just nothing does justice for this. This is definitely a casualty to Vince McMahon's greed to have everybody in the wrestling in wrestling under the WWE banner, so they don't go anywhere else. Even if they don't have anything for you, they want you under their belt. Pretty much, Triple H on the last Japanese tour was in Japan scouting with his team, because we all know AEW is going to want to have superstars from Japan, like the women, like the Joshis, like Aja Kong and all them, showcased on TNT. And you know Vince McMahon doesn't want to lose out on that. This is it sucks. 2017's World Cup, getting to see people from superstars from Mexico, Japan, Canada, United States. Hell, two-thirds, half of the Undisputed Era was in that World Cup. Kyle O'Reilly was in the Canada leg, and Bobby Fish was in the U.S. leg. My first taste of seeing Keith Lee wrestle was his match against Ricochet, and I believe he had a match before that, but still, that. James Storm was in that. There's just so many people. You look up and down. EC3 was there once or twice. Moose! I fucking love seeing Moose in the WCPW arena. There's just so many memories. I could be here for hours talking about this, because WCPW, not the Defiant contingent, because when they went to access Defiant, I really couldn't watch, and I stayed up to date with it on Twitter, but I couldn't watch until they went back to load it. Now, in 2017, in February of 2017, they put out, I think it was February or January 2017, they put a teaser out on the What Culture Pro Wrestling at the time YouTube page that in March, WCPW Loaded was going to go live. They were going to go live every single week on YouTube. That would have been huge. Unfortunately, not more than a couple days later, Apocalypse happened. And Apocalypse, if you don't know, was At one time in 2017, there were a couple scumbaggy type propaganda propaganda-led YouTube pages that were getting ads on them, and advertisements started to pull away. So YouTube didn't want to lose that advertising revenue, put out an algorithm that would catch stuff that they didn't think was advertiser friendly and flag it so whoever put that video out would not make any money. Unfortunately for Adpocalypse, that hurt everything non-WWE with professional wrestling. It didn't matter what it was. I wish I had the clip. If I had the ability right now, there would have been 3 clips I would have played. The announcement of WCPW, the Drew Galloway promo, and Adam Blampier's promo from Fight Back, which was supposed to be the start of their tapings, which they had in March. And just his words coming about is like, professional wrestling doesn't tear people apart. Professional wrestling brings people together. Professional wrestling... professional wrestling. I could go to a convention tomorrow, or like later in this year. I could go to StarCast on August 31st, later this month, and I could just run into somebody, and we could talk about Jon Moxley and what he did in the G1 Climax. We could talk about why we're here, who we're looking forward to, and we could just have a conversation. Oh, who's your favorite legend? Oh, who you want to see? Who are you coming to see? And we could just talk and talk and talk and bond over the fact that we love professional wrestling. And I noticed that when Loaded came back, they were getting ads on their thing, which was great. But in my opinion, taking Loaded away hurt Defiant Wrestling when it came back. Another thing that kind of hurt Defiant Wrestling for me is the fact that they decided when they rebranded Defiant Wrestling, Austin Aries won the Defiant Wrestling World Championship from Marty Scurll, who that was, I believe, his last time with WCPW/Defiant. They decided to do it in an invasion angle. I absolutely detest invasion angles because you know who's going to win. The invasion angles are such a failure no matter who does them. And quite honestly, I think it was IPW was the promotion that invaded. That's where we got No Fun Done from. And I believe a couple other I keep saying superstars, but they're professional wrestlers, I'm sorry. But it's just, the invasion angle kind of threw me off of Defiant Wrestling for a while until they were done with the invasion angle. Then Primate, who broke his jaw, took over as general manager. I didn't get to see Defiant Wrestling as much because it was on Access Defiant mostly. They didn't do much on their YouTube channel. Then they brought Loaded back, and I was freaking stoked because I loved Loaded back when it was WCPW. They came back. It didn't, and honestly, it just didn't feel the same. But it was still, it's just, and I know it's not just because they didn't have all the stars that they had before, because all of them were in NXT UK mostly. It just, like, the overall presentation seemed to just not be the same as it was when it was What Culture Pro Wrestling. Defiant Wrestling will definitely be missed. Like I said, in 2017 when we branded as Defiant up until its closure, it just did not feel the same as it was when it was Defiant Wrestling. But, I mean, when it was What Culture Pro Wrestling. But I don't care what anyone says. What Culture Pro Wrestling / Defiant Wrestling was one of the most influential promotions to ever be created with only a 3-year lifespan. Look at all the talent, all the names that you see. Killian Dane, Walter, Travis Banks, Ligero. Jordan Devlin, I believe, is there for a little bit. Let me think here. Tegan Knox, who was Nixon Newell. B. Priestley, who's like a huge star in Stardom and is going to be going for the AEW Women's Championship, probably on that debut episode, which we'll talk about later. I don't ever want to see a promotion go down like this. They had their last event called Built to Destroy, which was their first pay-per-view back in 2016, which of course saw Rampage take on Big Damo for the championship, in which they had the double turn. Rampage ended up being betrayed by Adam Blampier, and Big Damo ended up becoming the first ever champion. The World Heavyweight Champions were as followed: Big Damo, Joseph Connors, Drew Galloway, Martin Kirby. You had Joe Hendry, Marty Scurll, Austin Aries, Rampage Brown, Roy Coyle, Rampage Brown, David Starr. 11 champions of all. The tag team champions, the hardcore champion, the internet champion, and the women's champions. A little bit harder to decide because talk about all those, simply because those titles were harder to follow. It just seemed like every time somebody got any traction in the company before we got to Austin Aries, really, they ended up going to WWE. Look at Big Damo. Damo won the championship and was gone within a few months. Joseph Connors won the championship. He was gone he was pretty much gone after he was gone pretty much after the late WCPW, and I guess he went until Kirby Mania, which was not a really good show. You had Drew Galloway, who was still champion when NXT TakeOver Orlando went on, and you saw him in the crowd as Drew McIntyre. I was like, oh shit. Then Martin Kirby won it. Martin Kirby stayed. He was there since day one. The OGs that stayed around: James R. Kennedy, who went from managing to commentary; H.T. Drake, who still is there from day one; Joe Hendry, who was there from day one; Rampage. Not too many people stayed. Gabriel Kidd ended up leaving. I don't know if he's in UK, if he's coming to NXT UK or not. I haven't heard anything. But there were just so many guys and girls who made that thing look and feel so special. I am happy that I got to see this promotion get taken off the ground. And honestly, this promotion should not have worked as long as it did. There was no way at all this promotion should have lasted 3 years. Just a bunch of YouTubers. The reason this entire promotion was even a thing was because of Adam versus Adam Blampier versus Adam Pacitti, and how personal how in kayfabe personal it was getting between those two. The feud that they were having, how popular that feud was. That is, to anybody who wants to thank anybody for the groundwork, you got to thank Blampier and Pacitti. Those guys, if they did not have the chemistry on What Culture's YouTube channel that they did, WCPW, Defiant Wrestling, would have never been taken, never happened. And the fact that all these wrestlers that they came and paid to come to this promotion and be in this promotion, just the fact that this worked as well as it did is absolutely mind-blowing. This should have never worked at all. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This should have never, ever worked. And it did. For 3 years. It's a damn shame. It's definitely a casualty. When the UK stars were getting taken from WCPW and going to WWE, I was hoping so badly that WWE would have gotten some kind of deal done to make them a brand, make them a feeder system like ICW and like Progress. I would have just been jumping for joy that we could have had them still. That didn't happen. So WCPW is gone. Those other promotions in the UK. Do me a favor, to anybody who wants to see independent professional wrestling survive and thrive. Go out, find a way to support professional wrestling in the independents. I've seen a little bit of MLW. I know it's an independent show who's on Beam Sports. I might start watching some MLW just to fill the void of What Culture Pro Wrestling, because Defiant Wrestling, because they're gone. And I do like to watch. So I do like watching wrestling on the weekends sometimes. That's what I do like watching it. And I know it's on, I think, Fridays, but I can watch MLW on Saturdays on YouTube. I might start watching that. It's not going to be a review on here, but make sure to show support to any independent promotion that you can, because I don't want to see anyone else lose their job or lose their promotion like this happened. This is absolutely a shame. It's a victim of what's going on in WWE, what's going on in AEW. Cody was there before. B was there before. The Young Bucks were in WCPW for a minute too. The entire majority of the UK roster for WWE was WCPW, Defiant Wrestling, Rampage, the Mustache Mountain, Pete Dunne, Volter, Travis Banks, Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, Ligero. so on and so forth. Just look at that roster and you will see most of those guys and men and women came through WCPW, Defiant Wrestling. Not too many promotions, let alone in the UK, can say half of our roster, half of the people on this roster came through our promotion at one time. It's something that, like, I wanted to do unscripted yesterday, like I usually would. I just could not do it. I could not record because it was a day to remember the good times of What Culture Pro Wrestling, Defiant Wrestling. And I just needed that day to, like, realize and grieve and, like, let it all go that this promotion is gone. I'm hoping to see some of these men and women that were still there. Benji was still needing to get over. You had Visage, which I wasn't a fan of, but people were. You still had Joe Hendry. You had Rampage, who was there since day one as well. Martin Kirby was being an absolute dick like he should have been. There's just so many memories that you can go on TV. And if you can still do it, go to Defiant Wrestling's YouTube channel. Look out, find the World Cup. Find every single match on that World Cup and watch every single thing, or watch most of those matches. Because that was some of the best wrestling. The greatest independent tournament I will ever see. The Battle of Los Angeles cannot touch what they did in 2017 with the World Cup. Plain and simple. WCPW will always be remembered as a great promotion. It's going to be missed, and anybody who's seen it, let me know in the comment section below what you thought and what your greatest memories of What Culture Pro Wrestling or Defiant Wrestling was. Because, honestly, I don't know what else to say. Viper was there before, Kaylee Ray was there before as well. Just, I can't even, like, process it still. It still doesn't feel real to me. But we're going to move on here. We had Raw, SmackDown, NXT. We're going to skip that this week because we had this in Defiant Wrestling. Defiant Wrestling being shuttered for good is something that just, if you're a true professional wrestling fan and you watched it, if your heart doesn't hurt for those men and women behind the scenes, in front of the cameras, who worked on Defiant Wrestling, if your heart doesn't hurt for them, then you're not a true professional wrestling fan. I'm gonna take a second. Let's move on here. Former WWE and ROH star has signed with Impact. Impact Wrestling has announced that Danielle Dashwood has signed with the company. Dashwood will make her Impact debut in Mexico City, Mexico on August 15th and 16th. Since being released by WWE in October of 2017, Dashwood has worked on the independent scene. She has signed with Ring of Honor in February of 2018. However, she revealed this past March that she is no longer under contract with the promotion. Great for her. This is a great get for Impact Wrestling. I was hoping she would want to be elite, but hey, it's great for her. I think WWE missed the boat on Emma. I think she could have been one of the best heels they had if they actually put any steam behind her, but they didn't. I can't wait to see what people think about Tennille Dashwood versus a Madison Rayne, Tennille Dashwood versus Jordan Grace, Tennille Dashwood versus Tessa Blanchard versus Taya Valkyrie versus Rosemary versus Sue Young. So many great matches you're going to get out of her. To Impact Wrestling fans, you guys got a good get. Monday Night Raw, Paul Heyman, as we know, is the executive director. Apparently, this week's Raw from North Little Rock, Arkansas, was the heaviest Paul Heyman influenced Red Brand episode to date, according to F4W Online. There seems to be a good amount of positive feedback on this week's episode of Raw, which also featured the executive director in an on-screen role that saw Universal Champion Brock Lesnar destroy Rollins. It is speculated that Heyman came up with a gauntlet match which saw Ricochet defeat Rey Mysterio, Cesaro, Sami Zayn, and Andrade to earn a SummerSlam shot against United States Champion AJ Styles. It was reported that they wanted to really contribute to making new stars with the gauntlet match. Yeah, that's a good thing if you want to make new stars, but you really didn't make any new stars. Honestly, you had Sami Zayn get rolled up within 20 seconds, if that, like 10 seconds. You had Ricochet, yeah, he won the gauntlet. Unfortunately, The thing about the gauntlet was it was a gauntlet of losers. Nobody going into that match was strong. Rey Mysterio getting squashed by Bobby Lashley 2 weeks ago. Cesaro getting beat two matches in a row to Aleister Black. Sami Zayn losing every single turn we turn around. Apollo Crews beating Andrade in seconds. Nobody like Ricochet, yes, he was the United States champion for about 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. But he lost the title at Extreme Rules, so exactly how did anybody in this match look like new stars? Rey Mysterio is a star. He didn't need to be made into a new star. Him being Sami Zayn didn't help anything. Cesaro's been around for a while. The only two that you could have made into bigger stars would have been Andrade and Ricochet. That's probably why they finished the match as the last two. But it was an okay match. And it just really didn't do anything for either one of them. Yes, Ricochet won. He's only on the face AJ Styles. But it didn't do anything. The whole first ever pregnant 24/7 champion was an absolute joke. I'm hoping, of course, Drake Maverick tweeted out that he's not against pinning a pregnant woman. So I'm surprised because she did say how she's had a doctor's appointment on Thursday. How I'm surprised that video didn't surface of somebody, either R-Truth or Drake Maverick, pinning her while she was up in stirrups. But that didn't happen. Another thing that happened on Monday Night Raw is that the ban of no wrestling during commercials seemed to be lifted. WWE has apparently changed their mind regarding the wrestling during commercial breaks starting last month with the June 17th episode of Raw. WWE created a rule where a match can go through a commercial break. However, there can't be any wrestling during that break unless it was an in-set advertisement where the action can still be seen in the in-picture window, which happens on SmackDown Live for almost every match but the main event. This change was reportedly done because Vince McMahon felt that legitimate sports don't play during commercial breaks unless you're football, international football, where they so totally do. Although this is not the case for sports like golf and racing, the new rules led to companies regularly booking 2 out of 3 fall matches and elimination matches, which killed both concepts in 1 week. WWE apparently dropped that rule this week on Monday's edition of Raw. The Rey Mysterio vs. Cesaro, Dolph Ziggler vs. Seth Rollins, and WWE Tag Team Championship match all featured wrestling during the commercial break. There was also no 2 out of 3 fall matches on the show this past Monday. It should be noted there were some positives with the rule that short time that it was implemented. The ratings for Raw had increased 3%. Bullshit. That's absolute bullshit, as we all know. Excluding last week's Raw reunion, the hour 1 increase to drop 3 has also been less significant. Bullshit. As to drop has only been in the 2 to 5% range this month. There's even an 4% gain for the hour to 1 to 3 for the July 15th episode, whereas the drop was the double digits for the most weeks, often over 20%. Speaking of Raw this week, and everyone should have seen this coming. First off, I'm glad that's done because it kind of ruined it. If Raw had any good premise going on, if anything was good for that episode of Monday Night Raw, the 2 out of 3 falls, the having somebody run in, like when you had the OCs versus the Lucha House Party, Ricochet comes in, pulls AJ Styles down and starts beating the hell out of him. Instead of the referee ringing the bell, we'll go to commercial breaks, Ricochet goes away, and we're back to a match. It got kind of stupid, and I think another reason they had to drop this rule is because they ran out of ideas. They had to have run out of ideas. That's the only reason they could have done this. Monday Night Raw, though. Everyone should have seen this coming. This episode of Raw featuring Samoan Summit main event segment with Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe drew a 2.321. This is down 25% from the 3.093 million views for the Raw reunion special. This is not a surprise. This is also down from the last regular episode of Raw, the post-Extreme Rules show on July 15, which drew 2.53 million viewers. It was the lowest audience for the show since June 24th. It is reported that this week's Raw was the episode with the most influence in executive director Paul Heyman since he was hired for the job. This week's Raw had the Samoan Summit ahead of this, plus the Women's Champion Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss in a non-title match, which ended in some of the worst case of bullshit ever. Dolph Ziggler and an appearance by Universal Champion Brock Lesnar. And people are like, see, Brock Lesnar doesn't draw. Well, Brock Lesnar was a surprise appearance. You could have had one of the worst rated shows ever. They could have been in the ones. Brock Lesnar shows up on that show. It's not going to jump up to a 2.5 because Brock Lesnar's on the show. Brock Lesnar wasn't advertised. I'm sure they would have had a little bit of intrigue from people had Brock Lesnar been advertised for the show, but he wasn't. Brock Lesnar is advertised for this coming Monday Night Raw, so we should see a difference possibly for Brock Lesnar's segment. This week's show, first hour drew 2.407. Last week's drew 3.019. The second hour drew 2.324. Last week's drew 3.178. And the final hour drew 2.233. Last week's drew 3.083. Not a surprise to anybody who thought that WWE was going to have anything to capitalize off the Raw reunion. You're out of your mind. What did Monday Night Raw open with? A Mosh Pit 24/7 Mixed Tag Team Championship match. Did anyone really think that was how you start off Monday Night Raw after having the best ratings of the entire year, highlighting the 24/7 Championship? I guarantee you, with what they started with Monday Night Raw this week, a lot of people started changing the channel. Then you have, and by the way, the whole Maria and Mike Kanellis thing is domestic violence. Is they're mocking domestic abuse against men, because I'm sure Vince McMahon's like, ha ha ha, how could you let your woman talk down to you like that? Ha ha ha, this is some good shit. That's some good shit. No, it's not. Domestic abuse or domestic violence of any type is not good. And the fact that they're pretty much sitting there, like, just mocking it, and yes, it's a woman talking, is pretty much belittling a guy, it doesn't matter. Should not happen at all, and it is. And it's just something that I cannot stand watching. So, Monday Night Raw, yes, was going to have a lower audience. Anybody who thought otherwise, you're out of your mind. There was no way this thing was going to stay above a 3. No way. It didn't stay above a 2.5. Was not surprised. And so Monday Night Raw got itself. And here's the thing. You had The Fiend attack Mick Foley. Could have started off with that. Maybe people would have got intrigued by that. But no. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin. Did you think Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to just show up on Monday Night Raw? Oh, Austin's going to be back. He's going to be stunning. He's going to have a stunner party. No, none of that happened. The problem with Raw reunions is they have nothing they cannot capitalize on anything at all. So why do them? Why get that one rating? Why get that 1 week rating that's going to do nothing for you for the rest of the year? Having the show go off the air and you get a 3.0 whatever, and then you come back the next week and you're like, oh shit, we can't capitalize on that at all. Back in the Attitude Era, when they were getting ratings, like setting rating records, they could capitalize on whatever they did the week before and continue it on the next week. You can't do that with a Raw reunion. You can't have a DX come back or Stone Cold come back and do a beer bash, maybe stun a couple superstars. Nothing could be capitalized on. They did nothing that could build into next week. It was a one-time rating, and that was it. Monday Night Raw is never going to get better. And there you go. Monday Night Raw is going to be just downhill from here. And to anybody who starts, when Monday Night Raw starts getting worse and worse as we go on, because everyone knows after SummerSlam, they just don't give a shit. When Monday Night Raw starts seeing those ratings dip further and further down the hole, and they go into the ones, and they stay in the ones, don't blame Paul Heyman. He's not the one in charge. Vince McMahon is. Yes, it might have been might have been the most influenced show for Paul Heyman, but everything still goes to Vince McMahon. And Vince McMahon can go, oh, that sounds nice, pal, but what if we do this instead? What if we do this instead? It doesn't matter what Eric Bischoff does, what Paul Heyman does. These shows are going to be terrible no matter what. SmackDown Live, there was a lot of rewrites. A lot of rewrites. Originally, it was supposed to be the New Day versus Drew McIntyre and Elias. That got scratched, and we were supposed to have a 6-man tag team match. The OCs, AJ Styles, and the Raw Tag Team Champions, Luke Gallows and Corey Anderson, versus WWE Champion Kofi Kingston and SmackDown Tag Team Champions Xavier and Big E, the New Day. This changed with some early announced plans with Elias and Drew McIntyre versus Big E and Xavier Woods. Vince McMahon called for rewrites of the entire episode planned for the show, according to F4W Online and Pro Wrestling Sheets. The SmackDown took place in FedEx Forum in Memphis. The website preview still had Dolph Ziggler versus Finn Balor. That match still happened. King's Court segment with Hall of Famer Jerry Lawler and Trish Stratus also happened. As noted, this week's SmackDown episode from Memphis was rewritten by Vince McMahon just hours before the show hit the air on USA Network. Vince was still working on the second hour changes to the original script while the first hour was airing on TV. That is pathetic. Vince reportedly felt like the show that was presented to him did not do a good job on following up from the previous week. You mean Vince McMahon wants to use continuity? Holy shit. Play the end is nigh meme, because that is something that we don't see ever. Vince McMahon actually wanting to use continuity and follow up with what we did last week. Wow. According to Wrestling Observer, Vince also felt like the script written before the changes did not build the SummerSlam pay-per-view strong. Vince McMahon wants to build to a pay-per-view strong? Holy shit. Is this the same? Is this actually Vince and Ken McMahon, or is this Vince Russo? Or somebody with the name Vince that's not Vince McMahon? When has Vince McMahon ever wanted to build to a pay-per-view strong that wasn't WrestleMania? Wow, I'm in shock there. New executive director for SmackDown is now working on the show along with Bruce Pritchard, but Bischoff reportedly does not have much to do with any creative ideas just yet, as he's learning who is what in the overall system. Rightfully so. It was also noted that Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon pitched most of their creative material to the WWE writers, so their segments often come from their ideas, as they should. It was also said that Bryan, Shane, and Owens seem to be the only superstars that writers are listening to. At least they're listening to somebody. And here's the thing. If Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon have the biggest reaction or have the biggest thing going on WWE television besides the WWE Championship, then the Raiders are going to listen. If the fans, and that's the thing, if the fans are reacting to a positive way with the whole Stone Cold-esque stuff, with Stone Cold / CM Punk-esque stuff between Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens, of course the Raiders are going to listen. Daniel Bryan is Daniel Bryan. Everyone should be listening to what he has to say anyway, because the dude's a genius. While Vince continues to have a final word on all creative, it was also noted that, of course, Paul Heyman, we already talked about that. Heyman was able, now the Observer reports that Heyman was able to resume in-ring action during commercial breaks and do away with the constant run-ins and angles to stop matches for commercial breaks and the need to do so many eliminations or 2 out of 3 fall matches. Vince also made changes to this week's Red Brand script, according to Dave Meltzer. There's no word yet on all the specific Raw changes this week, but there was not as many as SmackDown. It was noted that Vince had a few minor tweaks to this week's Raw. Of course, Paul Heyman could be running the show from start to finish, but Vince McMahon's always going to have his hands on something. It was noted that Vince McMahon made a few minor tweaks, but it was largely a Heyman-booked show. It was noted before that this week's Raw was an episode with the most Heyman-influenced show since he started his new role. If that was the best influence for Paul Heyman's show, as I said, then I don't want Paul Heyman running my show. Monday Night Raw was not a good show. SmackDown Live was an okay show, but I kind of find it hard to believe that Vince McMahon actually wants to use continuity and build towards his pay-per-view strong, because we haven't seen any of that in the last 5, 6, 7 years. It's not WrestleMania, and they hardly build strong to that. Vince McMahon doesn't seem to care. Just look at Stomping Grounds. Look at Extreme Rules. Those weren't strongly booked. What makes me believe that he's booking SummerSlam strong? SmackDown's rating its streak has been broken. SmackDown for the last 3 weeks or so has been back up in the 2s. That has now changed as they are back down to a 1.911. This is down 11.6% from last week's 2.62 million viewers. This SmackDown also featured King's Court segment with Hall of Famer Jerry Lawler and Trish Stratus, plus Dolph Ziggler versus Finn Balor. SmackDown was 12, blah, blah, blah. So, the rewrites made the show, I guess, feel okay, but it didn't do enough for people to stay invested. Nobody cares about King's Court. I want to see a way to see the ratings out, segment by segment, just to see where things are going wrong for WWE, because I guarantee you I could point out what's wrong with this company by just seeing the segment by segments. I guarantee you that King's Court segment didn't get as many viewers as many people think it did. No, like, I'm gonna be honest, everybody. I'm tired of seeing talk show segments on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. I want those to go away for a very, very long time. We don't need them. We never needed them. SmackDown to have a different look when it moves to Fox. You can expect WWE SmackDown to have a cinematic look to it when the show premieres on Fox on Friday, October 4th, according to WrestleVotes. The report notes the Blue Brand show will see cinematic similar to some of the WWE 24 footage we've seen due to new cameras WWE recently experimented with. WWE will reportedly film SmackDown with these new cameras when they move to Fox after recently testing out newer, much more expensive technology. WWE officials said to be pleased with what the new cameras produced. It was recently reported by Wrestling Observer newsletter that WWE plans to test out new cameras for the Fox premiere. Fox officials also looking to invite a lot of celebrities to make SmackDown and give the show a feel of a major event, which is one of the reasons why the SmackDown Fox premiere was booked for the Staples Center in Los Angeles. We knew that. It was reported there's talk of Fox premiere on October 4th will feature the 20th anniversary celebration. Not a surprise, even though it would be way past the 20th anniversary by that time. There are rumors on WWE trying to get The Rock to appear. The Observer reports also noted that the idea is to make WWE look as major leagues as possible, which would make AEW look minor leagues from the start. AEW will premiere on TNT 2 days before on Wednesday, October 2nd. Here's the thing. I don't care what cameras you're using. I don't care how cinematic it looks. If the product sucks, if the in-ring product sucks, if the booking is still terrible, it doesn't fucking matter. I don't care what celebrities are in the fucking audience. I don't care what celebrities show up in the ring, what celebrities show up backstage. If the product in the ring and the promos suck, and the presentation sucks, I don't fucking care. Yes, SmackDown and Raw desperately need to look different. Whatever that shit was at the end of SmackDown Live this past Tuesday where they had Roman Reigns getting something dropped on him, that shit looked hokey as fuck. If they can make something like that look more authentic and real, then fine. But what they taped and shot for that was absolutely generic as can be. SmackDown moving to, yes, they're going to try and make it look major leagues. Of course they will. But if you don't put a good product in the ring, if the promos come off as cheesy as fuck, then whatever the fuck you do does not fucking matter. No matter what the camera looks like, no matter what SmackDown looks and feels like, it's going to be... It's pretty much like you can't take a pile of shit and make a birthday cake out of it. You can't take a pile of shit and make a fucking souffle out of it. If it's trash, it's going to be trash. If it's good, it's going to be good. AEW is not looking to look and feel like it's up on par with WWE. It's going to do its own thing. Expect that amphitheater that they were in to be a TNT show eventually as well. They don't want to look like WWE, where all the events are in these type of arenas. You'll see different arenas. AEW is going to look different. WWE should be worrying about themselves. Again, it doesn't fucking matter what the camera angles you use. If the in-ring product sucks, if you're giving me Alexa Bliss or Carmella versus a Sonya Deville in a 20-minute match, nobody's going to want to watch that. If you're going to give me the Colognes versus the New Day in a match, nobody's going to want to watch that. If you're going to give me Apollo Crews versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and Nakamura beats it in like 10 seconds, nobody's going to care. The product, they need to worry, fuck the camera angles and stuff. They need to worry about building a good in-ring product. That's what they need to work on more than anything else. Commentary needs to fucking change. Buy Byron Saxton. Buy Corey Graves. Give me Corey Graves, Tom Phillips by themselves, fine. Buy Corey Graves. Byron Saxton. Corey Graves, Tom Phillips, fine, whatever. If you want to put Beth Copeland on there, fine. But you need to change everything. In-ring product, commentary, everything. Camera angles are not going to do it. The celebrities are not going to make a damn difference. I don't care if the entire front row is nothing but celebrity guests. I don't care. Real professional wrestling and WWE fans are not going to give a goddamn fuck about celebrities. Fuck that. This next thing, I'm happy about the here, and I hope it actually happens. The current plan is for WWE to go back to split rosters for Raw and SmackDown once the Blu-ray premieres on Fox, October 2nd, according to Wrestling Observer. It was noted that there may be minor crossovers between the rosters, but the idea is that things won't be like they are right now. Thank the wrestling gods, and there should be zero crossover. The current brand split started in July of 2016 when SmackDown started airing live on Tuesday nights. The brand extension got muddied with the implementation of the wildcard rule in May, which has added star power to combat declining ratings. It hasn't worked. It has not fucking worked. Seeing Roman Reigns on Raw and SmackDown does not help. Seeing AJ Styles on Raw and SmackDown does not help. Seeing the WWE Champion on SmackDown and Raw with pancakes stuck between him and the WWE Championship makes him look more like a joke than anything else. I can't wait till Kofi loses that championship because he has pretty much taken the championship, laid it down, opened his drawers, and pissed on it the entire time he's had that championship. The ratings have not improved because you're overexposing everybody. Seeing Roman on Raw and SmackDown does not help. It overexposes him. I think it seems like the only person who hasn't been on SmackDown and Raw, except for I think once, was Seth Rollins. It seems like he's been the only guy to be on Raw and not move between the big names, which is fine. I don't want to see anybody from SmackDown on Raw and SmackDown. We know how WWE hired Paul Heyman and SmackDown Executive Director Eric Bischoff, but the idea that the two brands would be completely separate. The idea is that there will be completely different storylines instead of storylines that play out over both shows like they do now. While no roster changes are official as of now, it's believed that the current Raw and SmackDown rosters will remain the same, at least for the most part. The Observer noted there may be a few minor roster changes right before the things settle in, but it's believed that there won't be many roster moves, and the current roster will largely what Raw and SmackDown will have. Good. Get rid of this wildcard rule. End it after SummerSlam. SummerSlam needs to be the end of the wildcard rule. And then you can just build from there. They need to start building SmackDown storylines that will go into October. Raw superstars need to stay on Raw. SmackDown superstars need to stay on SmackDown. Fox is not going to want people from Raw on SmackDown or SmackDown on Raw. Plain and simple. They don't want people who are on NBC Universal on their show, and they don't want people from their show on an NBC Universal show. Plain and simple. Just end the wildcard rule at SummerSlam. Speaking of SummerSlam, there are plans for Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. It has been speculated on the latest edition of Wrestling Inc.'s podcast, Matt Morgan and Glenn Rubinstein with Daniel Bryan might be the man behind the mystery attack on Roman Reigns on Tuesday's episode of SmackDown Live. While it's not known if Bryan will be revealed to be the person behind the attack, it appears as if Reigns and Bryan are scheduled to work a program together soon. Reigns vs. Bryan is being advertised for live events in the fall, including both Raw and SmackDown televised tapings at Madison Square Garden in early September, as well as the upcoming WWE live events in Finley Toyota Center in Prescott Valley, Arizona on September 28th. Reigns and Bryan worked a short feud together in 2015 ahead of Reigns facing Brock Lesnar for the World Heavyweight Championship at the WrestleMania 31. Reigns put up his shots at Lesnar against Bryan at Fastlane a month before the WrestleMania, which Reigns won. Reigns was scheduled to issue a challenge for his SummerSlam opponent on SmackDown Live. However, he was ambushed by a mystery attack before he could make it. Bryan has been teasing a career-altering announcement for weeks. However, he has been avoiding revealing it. WWE. You've had a majority of the fan base on Roman's side since he came back in February. Do you really want to ruin that? There are two things that would kill. I believe there are two things that would kill Roman Reigns in the long run. That is Shane McMahon winning the WWE Championship just to put it on Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. Daniel Bryan losing to Roman Reigns. I guarantee you the fan base is going to shit all over Roman Reigns by the time we get to October. If you go along with this feud, Roman Reigns is going to be back to where he was 1 year ago. Way to fuck things up, WWE. Yes, most places WWE's fans are going to boo Daniel Bryan because he's a great heel. But when Daniel Bryan loses to Roman Reigns, people are going to be like, they're doing it again. We're back to where we were before. They're just going to push Roman to the moon, and they're going to bury Daniel Bryan. Not a good plan, WWE. Not a good plan. speaking of that bullshit ending we saw on SmackDown Live on Tuesday, WWE issued a storyline update on Roman Reigns' mystery attack, noting that a preliminary investigation shows that the backstage incident was caused by a forklift carrying lighting grids that was not properly secured. As noted, the attack in the end Tuesday will reportedly lead to Reigns facing Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam on August 11th. The match should be made official on Tuesday's go-home edition of SmackDown. That... WWE, you had one job. Get people... You have one job each and every week. Give people a reason to watch Raw and SmackDown. Give people intrigue to why they should be watching your show and not watching something else. Especially when the only sport going on right now is baseball. What do? You go into this and you give us Roman Reigns getting something pushed over him, and instead of waiting till Tuesday to give us some kind of thing, you say, oh, it was a forklift driving error. Oh, then they put out a second tweet with like, oh, we don't know who the forklift driver was. Instead of saying that in the previous tweet, you decided to tweet that out after the fact. So WWE realized that, oh, we fucked up. We made it seem like this was not a heinous attack by somebody trying to destroy Roman Reigns. It was just an accident. WWE, you have one job every week. Give us a reason to watch SmackDown Live. This was a reason to watch SmackDown Live. And what did you fucking do? You took it away like that. And then you tried to get it back. And how did that go out? It didn't work at all. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Another thing happened on SmackDown Live that made absolutely no sense. You had Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Bayley and Ember Moon. Ember Moon took that pinfall to Alexa Bliss. So, why? Why would you have a woman who is less than 2 weeks away from the biggest match of her career so far on the main roster lose on SmackDown Live to somebody who's not in either match? Apparently, it was a political move. This week's SmackDown Live, this is an excuse, by the way, saw SummerSlam opponents team up for a loss as Ember Moon and SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley lost to Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. The match saw Moon take the pin after a twisted Bliss from Bliss. There was some confusion over Moon suffering a loss right before she gets her title shot at SummerSlam, as it made no sense, but the Wrestling Observer reports that this was a political move. This is bullshit right here, and I'll tell you why. WWE had planned to do 3 Raw vs. SmackDown matches on this week's Blue Branch show. Kevin Owens had to defeat Drew McIntyre, while WWE Champion Kofi Kingston had to defeat United States Champion AJ Styles. That match should have went to a no contest, in my opinion, because neither man should have lost. This left the women's tag team match, and Raw had to get the win in one of the 3 matches, which is why Moon took the loss. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. They do not want Alexa Bliss to look weak. Alexa Bliss is a favorite to those in the back. I don't know who's licking her pussy. I don't know whose dick she's sucking. I don't know who she's fucking. But somebody in the back has a thing for Alexa Bliss. So, in this match, why would they have Alexa Bliss take the loss? Like I said, AJ Styles versus Kofi Kingston should have ended in a no contest with the New Day and the OCs all coming together to have a brawl that would have just ended with the New Day on top. That would have left you to be able to have Ember Moon take the pin, like win the match or whatever. But no, you have Ember Moon take the pinfall to Alexa Bliss. Why did Alexa Bliss have to take the get the pinfall? Why not have Nikki Cross take the pinfall? You have 3 SmackDown vs. Raw matches, which again shows why the wild card rule is a problem. This should not be happening. For 3 years, 16, 17, and 18, your entire thing was Raw and SmackDown, only battles at Survivor Series. Can't say that this year. I guarantee you, if we get the Survivor Series this year and we have the same thing said, that's going to be one of the biggest jokes ever. Because we've had so many SmackDown vs. Raw matches. And on top of that, the current plan for the Women's Tag Team Championships, the Idiotics, to defend their titles in a fatal 4-way at SummerSlam, according to the Wrestling Observer. The match will see Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose versus Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. If that is the case, Why didn't you have Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross? Why didn't you have Kairi Sane and Asuka? Why didn't you have these six women going out there having some kind of match to where Raw beats SmackDown? Why did Ember Moon have to take a loss going into SummerSlam? It made no sense, and them saying, oh, it's a political thing because Raw had to win a match. No, it didn't. No, it did not. SmackDown could have won all three matches, or you could have had AJ Styles and Ricochet go to a no contest. Wouldn't have been that hard to figure out. This will actually be, and this is sad, this will be the first pay-per-view title defense for the Idiotic since they won the titles from Banks and Bayley at WrestleMania. WrestleMania was in fucking April, this is August, and these two haven't been on a pay-per-view since. It's time to take these tag team titles, give them to a legendary team like Trish and Lita, and just have them take the titles and retire them. These titles are a joke. Another match scheduled for the show is Drew Gulak is scheduled to defend against Oney Lorcan. In another news for match, the Observer reports Drew McIntyre versus Cedric Alexander and various WWE 24/7 activities on the show. There's no word yet on what exactly they have planned for the title, but the current champion is the pregnant Maria Kanellis. Ali versus champion Shinsuke Nakamura is also rumored but not confirmed. There's also no word yet on the Raw Tag Team Champions Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson might be doing at the SummerSlam, or SmackDown Tag Team Champions Big E and Xavier Woods. There's also fan speculation of a champion versus champion non-title match, but the Observer notes that match is not listed on the latest internal version of the completed show. Reigns versus Bryan plus Dolph Ziggler versus Goldberg are planned for the show. WWE currently has Ziggler versus The Miz, but the red herring as Goldberg's return should be announced this coming week. It has to be. As also noted earlier this week, the current SummerSlam has a pre-show run from 6 to 7, just 1 hour instead of 2 hours like they've done for a few years now. The main card is currently scheduled to run from 7 to 11, but it's very likely that event will run until midnight or after. The Observer speculated that 3 matches of the possible 15 matches could end up airing on the kickoff. There's no word yet on if they plan to change the kickoff back to 2 hours, but if you're going to do 3 matches, you're going to kind of have to. The 2019 SummerSlam pay-per-view, of course, happens on August 11th. 15 matches. 15 matches. You just had 10 at Extreme Rules. 15? If that doesn't go to midnight, I wouldn't be surprised. I am not doing a review for that until the day after because I'm going to be tired as can be, especially with my job that I'm doing now. I'm going to be somebody who's not going to be able to do a review for that until Monday, regardless of anything. So expect the SummerSlam review to be happening next Monday, not tomorrow, but next Monday in the morning, in the afternoon about noon. I am not putting myself through watching that entire event and then going to be reviewing it immediately. I might not even watch SummerSlam until the next day because of how tired I'm probably going to be. Another match speculated for SummerSlam is a hair versus mask match for Mysterio versus Andrade. This match, of course, has been rumored since before WrestleMania when they had that excellent series of matches on SmackDown earlier this year. With Andrade ripping Ray's mask off after Ray eliminated him from the Gauntlet match, which ended after he eliminated Ray from the Gauntlet match, which saw Ricochet earning a SummerSlam title shot for the United States Championship. It is also Shayla Schreiber on a post-Raw show to talk to Ray about what happened with Andrade. Ray says he has 2 goals now, to get the United States title back and get payback on Andrade for what he did to his mask. Schreiber asked Ray how disappointed he was over not getting the SummerSlam title shot. That's when you think the hard work you're about to put in is just goes to show you that I worked really hard, but not enough. I need to go through 2 more rounds, and tonight just wasn't my night. But I won't live with that weight on my back forever. This is just one bad night what that happened, even though the circumstances were a bit horrible, because the only person that was ripped my mask in the past were Eddie Guerrero and Randy Orton. And now Andrade took it overboard. He knew, I had 2 more main goals in my mind right now. First, getting that title back, and taking care of Andrade for what he did to Mysterio. WWE has not confirmed a mask versus hair match for SummerSlam, but they're also pushing the match on social media, as seen on Twitter. So it would not surprise me if we get that. That is something we have been speculating for a very, very long time. Something since WrestleMania, hair versus mask. It was something that was supposed to happen then, but they put them in the United States Championship match. They put Rey Mysterio in the United States Championship match, and Andrade was in the Battle Royal, unfortunately. This next thing I'm going to have to just say I'm not surprised with. UK's talent are being barred from working streaming events. According to the source speaking in Voices of Wrestling, WWE is working to make wrestling talent in NXT UK even more exclusive to the promotion as previously understood. NXT UK talent was signed to one of three tiers of contract. At the highest tier, big stars like Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate are already restricted from NXT UK and Progress Evolve and something like that. Lower tier talent could appear as they please, this is what may be changing. It has been learned through a source that WWE is informed, or well informed in some cases, affiliated European indies that the UK contracted talent may no longer appear on streaming services. They can work shows, but dark matches only. This means that many of the region stars are essentially locked out of ongoing storylines in non-WWE promotions. Voices of Wrestling also noted that European indies are already making moves to facilitate this new rule. That is an absolute damn shame, but it is something that I am not surprised. This is WWE. This is expected. The only reason that WWE has not made it so they're exclusive 100% to the NXT UK brand is because the NXT UK does not travel and do house shows like NXT does, like Raw does, and SmackDown does. So these men and women do need to have another source of income coming in, so they're able to work Progress, they're able to go work Evolve if they want to, they're able to work ICW, simply because if they didn't, I don't think these contracts for these these wrestlers would be viable at all. Because you got to think they do 2 days in a row of taping, which is like 8 weeks, and that's all UK does until that 8 weeks is close to coming up, and then they do another 8 weeks. Yes, they'll have NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff coming up at the end of the month on the same day as All Out in Royal Quest, but that's all. That's all they get to do. They would only be able to do takeovers and NXT UK shows, and that's not enough. So that's why they're allowed to do ICW in Progress. I wish WWE would branch out and give at least a 1 or 2 more UK affiliated, affiliate themselves with at least 1 or 2 more UK promotions. I don't think ICW in Progress should be enough. Like I said at the beginning of this, that's why I wish when the UK division started for WWE that WWE would have affiliated itself with What Culture Pro Wrestling / Defiant Wrestling. So you'd be able to see a Joseph Connors, a Pete Dunne, and Travis Banks and all this stuff, and they'd be able to win those championships and be able to be in the storylines that those guys and girls at What Culture had built out for them that they had to just throw away at last minute, and What Culture Pro Wrestling, Defiant Wrestling would still be around. It's a damn shame, and it's just something that we're not going to be able to see. One more thing here, I believe, before we get to AEW, yep, and that is The Undertaker's new WWE contract and what it entails. Don't expect to ever see The Undertaker appear for AEW or any other pro wrestling promotion, as the Deadman really is a WWE lifer, according to the new report from Wrestling Observer. It was reported back in mid-April that Taker has recently signed a new big money deal. Taker put into a new contract that Vince reportedly made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Financially, there weren't many details revealed on the new contract, but there was an agreement that Taker could no longer work the non-WWE dates that he started booking. This is what led to Taker being pulled from StarCast 2 convention during AEW Double or Nothing weekend back in late May. After he already been announced to appear. In an update, the Observer reports that Taker's new deal, while not exactly billed as a lifetime contract, is for so many years that for all intents and purposes, it is a lifetime deal. Which, honestly, The Undertaker 1,000% deserves a lifetime contract from the WWE, and I'm surprised they didn't sign him to one of these sooner. It was interesting that Taker agreed to such a lengthy deal, as he reportedly felt his career was over or coming to an end following his matches in 2018. The tag team match at Crown Jewel in November, which saw Taker and Kane lose to Hall of Famers Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and the no DQ loss to Triple H at Super Showdown in October. That's when Taker started booking the non-WWE paydays. Vince was said to be really upset when the StarCast appearance was announced, but the lucrative contract offer was made once things calmed down between the two sides. It has been reported in 2018 that Taker was charging $25,000 per hour for non-WWE appearances, and that he would have no trouble getting booked. Of course not. He's The Undertaker. There's no word yet on when the Deadman will return to the ring, but he will likely wrestle during WWE's next event from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, planned for Friday, November 1st. It's also seen him in this action at the Survivor Series pay-per-view on November 24th, but that has not been confirmed. Taker vs. Drew McIntyre was rumored for SummerSlam, but that match was never in the books. While Taker did not perform at WrestleMania 35 this year, he has worked 2 matches since signing the new big money contract. He defeated Hall of Famer Goldberg at Super Showdown in one of the worst matches of all time, and teamed with Roman Reigns to defeat McIntyre and Shane McMahon and Extreme Rules on July 14th. Yes, Undertaker should have had that light when the streak was broken. Undertaker should have had that lifetime contract. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just plain and simple. Why it took them until he started getting bookings non-WWE to go, well, pal, here's a lifetime contract, pretty much. That should have happened years ago. Not a surprise, and absolutely earned. If anybody has a problem with The Undertaker getting a lifetime contract with WWE, I don't know what to tell you. Definitely one of those guys who should be a lifer in WWE, for sure. AEW news now as we come close to an end of another podcast. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv at The France Club. And let me know what you think of everything we've talked about so far. Chris Van Vliet is all elite. Entertainment reporter Chris Van Vliet announced that he is joining All Elite Wrestling to work as a backstage interviewer for the AEW on TNT TV show, which premieres on October 2nd. Van Vliet appeared as the Control Center segment host in recent Road to All Out series on YouTube. He has been interviewing WWE superstars for a few years now. He said in a post, "I am honored to officially announce that I am officially joining All Elite Wrestling on October 2nd for the first show on TNT. As a lifelong wrestling fan, this is a dream come true to mix my passion for broadcasting and pro wrestling as a backstage interviewer for AEW. Growing up, I analyzed the larger-than-life characters in the ring, and I wanted nothing more than to be a professional wrestler. When I was 20 years old, I enrolled in a wrestling school in Toronto, but my wrestling dreams were put on hold as I chose to focus on graduating with honors degree in communication studies and pursuing my other dream of being a TV host. During my senior year, I called every TV station in town and finally earned an internship that led to my first ever on-air job. Every day, I drove 60 miles each way for the job that worked part-time in the fish department of a pet store at the mall to make ends meet. That has since grown into a 15-year broadcasting career, a YouTube channel where I'm still blown away that I get to have conversations with some of the biggest wrestling stars on the planet. I have loved working as an entertainment reporter at Deco Drive TV, at on WSVN over the last 5 years. My co-hosts Siren Sandoval and Lynn Martinez 123 are the best in the business, as are the producers, editors, photographers, administrations crew, studio crew, and everyone else on Channel 7. You have all helped me grow so much as both broadcasters and as humans since I moved to Florida from Ohio in 2014. I am grateful to have been able to share incredible stories on TV, to be able to travel the world and report from some of the biggest red carpet events. If you're reading this, I've got 2 words for you. Thank you. I couldn't have done any of this without your support. And here's the best part. We are just getting started." I am absolutely elated and happy for Chris Van Vliet. This guy, you see him always interviewing WWE stars. He's pretty much interviewed everybody. I'm pretty sure The Undertaker. He's done the Usos. You've seen him do everybody. John Cena. He's done everyone in AEW. It's just awesome to see what he can do, and I'm absolutely great for him. When they did the first episode of Road to All Out and they had Tony Schiavone in the Control Center, it just didn't feel right for Tony Schiavone to be there. When they did episode 2 and it was Chris Van Vliet because they couldn't use Tony Schiavone anymore, I was absolutely like, awesome. This guy, I think Tony Schiavone was great for his time in WCW and what he does in MLW, whatever. Chris Van Vliet seems to be, he seems to fit the mold of what AEW is looking for more than what Tony Schiavone could be doing for them. So, great for him. Congratulations to Chris Van Vliet, and I can't wait to see what he brings to the backstage interviewers in AEW. Maybe sometime, maybe eventually he'll be able to move up the commentary after JR retires for the final time. Indie star Marco Stunt took to Twitter on this past week on his 23rd birthday and received a contract from AEW. He tweeted, "It's my 23rd birthday and I can't think of another way to celebrate than announcing something huge. I would like to announce that I am officially signed with All Elite Wrestling. Thank you to everyone who has supported me and everyone at AEW. This is just the beginning. Stunt Road. He made his debut back at Double or Nothing pay-per-view in the late May, participating in the Casino Battle Royal. Buy-in pre-show, he entered number 7 and was eliminated by Ace Romero without picking up any eliminations. Stunt then accompanied Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy to the ring at Fight for the Fallen last month, for the triple threat tag team match against Angelico, Jack Evans, and the winners, the Dark Order. Stunt also worked the All-In event in 2018, participating in the over-budget Battle Royal on the pre-show. Congratulations to Marco Stunt. There was a pissant guy. I don't have his entire statement, or he pretty much went on a rant about AEW signing Marco Stunt. His name was Miller something. It was like Simon. It wasn't Simon Miller. It was like Greg Miller or something like that. His name was Miller something. Zach Miller, I think it was. And he was like, when I was a kid, I looked up to The Undertaker, Triple H. I looked up to all the larger-than-life athletes. I went to wrestling school to, try and get my foot in the door. But what happens? This quote-unquote big league, and what happens? This big league, in quotation marks, big league company signs Marco Stunt, or this little guy named Marco Stunt. He just goes on a tear trying to pretty much belittle Marco Stunt as much as he can. Well, motherfucker, here's the thing. Marco Stunt is somebody who is over. Maybe there's a reason why you're not signed by WWE, you're not signed by AEW, you're not even signed by Impact or Ring of Honor. Maybe it's your attitude. How about you get your attitude in check and be thankful for any opportunity that you get? Just because you're not in that position right now doesn't mean you can't be down the line. You don't like Marco Stunt, so fucking what? You deal with it. If that opportunity was there for you, you take it. If that opportunity isn't there for you yet, then hey, another opportunity be coming. But with you acting like that on Twitter towards somebody else because they're shorter than you, because Marco Stunt is as small as he is, that does not do well for you. Airing that on Twitter or on any social media platform kind of makes, just spits in the face of all promoters, and anybody who wants to give you an opportunity could take that opportunity away from you like that, and you have no one to blame but yourself. How about next time when you're pissed off about something or something like that, gets to you, how about you actually sit there and think before you say something, because you could be just digging you a big huge ass hole that you're never going to be able to get out of. First matches for AEW on TNT. Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara was the very first match announced for AEW on TNT. After that, we had Jon Moxley was announced as appearing on AEW on TNT. And then the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, the Elite, are going to face Chris Jericho and two mystery opponents. I don't want to really see this. This is should be a great match, but this just feels like something that WWE would do, where they're just going to take two guys, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, who are going to have another match somewhere down the line, maybe at the next pay-per-view, the next big event past All Out. Which, what is that going to be? I don't know. Maybe we get something in December. Maybe we get something in January. I don't know. But for me, it just feels like Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega should be kept away from each other as much as possible. I know it's going to be a interesting match. The intrigue for this match is going to be who are the mystery opponents, or who are the mystery partners for Chris Jericho. He even teased it himself. You're not gonna expect who I'm bringing. I'm excited for that. I cannot wait. The tickets were sold out in 2 hours. 2 hours for this show. This show sold out in 2 hours, despite Ticketmaster not working well for everybody. This show was in such high demand that there were so many people trying to get tickets, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's sold out. It's sold out." But it wasn't. But it took 2 hours, and it did sign out. One more thing for this, and I believe that's it for this, right? Yeah. The AEW Women's Championship will be crowned on the debut episode of October 2nd. That needs to be the main event. AEW's Chief Brand Officer Brandi Rhodes confirmed the news, expressing the company's full support for the opportunity to succeed for its female talent. For many female wrestlers, the opportunity to fight for the title represents the crowning achievement of their careers. The AEW Women's Champion will be the cornerstone of the women's division. Women's wrestling has long and complicated legacy in the business of professional wrestling. Unlike mixed martial arts, has wrestling promoted its women as headliners. Pro wrestling treatment of its female competitors has historically been less than stellar. WWE has made strides with their women's division, and AEW is hoping it can build a company around its female talent. The championship will be treated with the utmost respect and prestige, said Rose. We hope to inspire future female wrestlers to dream of holding such a meaningful title. AEW's women's roster includes up-and-coming stars like Britt Baker, Kylie Ray, Ali, as well as Awesome Kong, who starred in WWE as Karma and has also had a role in Netflix series Go. Nyla Rose, who is making history, the first transgender competitor for the major American wrestling promotion, is also featured heavily in the programming this far. That has got to be the end. That has got to be the main event. If you're talking about building this and making this a legitimate, like something that you want the women to aspire to, this needs to be the crown. The match that determines who is going to be your women's champion has to be the final match that you see, and the final thing that we see is that women's champion holding that title. That's got to be the final thing we see on that episode as it goes off the air. I don't know what they're doing with the tag team tournament. I'm sure we'll hear something about that in September after we find out who's going to win between the Best Friends and the Dark Order. But AEW is looking like it's going to have a knockout first episode. Let's just hope so. But that is Unscripted for episode 80 for your August 4th, 2019. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Let me know your favorite moments of What Culture Pro Wrestling / Defiant Wrestling. I want to hear from anybody who's watched that show what your thoughts were for that. What's your thoughts of it going away, and are you going to miss it? I'm going to miss it. I am just, it devastated me so badly that I could not find myself time. I could not come to terms with doing my recording yesterday, which I'm recording this on Saturday. I usually record this on Friday nights. I just couldn't do it because my heart was like just, it broke a piece of my heart because it was invested with that show, with that company, with that promotion from day one, and I can't say that about anything else so far. AEW will be the next one that I can say that if I'm invested with it, it's going to be from day one. And seeing WCPW go from where it was, from just being a bunch of YouTubers starting a wrestling promotion to being a legitimate, it felt like if they would have found TV, it could have been bigger than Impact Wrestling. I wholeheartedly believe that. But just seeing that go is going to be something very hard when you watch, AEW is just going to be one of those things that's going to have to fill that void as well. But let me know, seriously, I want to hear comments in the comment section below what you thought of WCPW, Defiant Wrestling, and what's your thoughts of it not being a thing anymore. I will see you guys Tuesday for Raw review, Wednesday for SmackDown review, Tuesday for SmackDown, Wednesday for SmackDown review, Thursday for NXT, and then Unscripted hopefully will be next Saturday. And my name is Franz, and I'll see you guys later.